Welcome back to the channel, my brothers, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. My name's Andy R, and this is the Brotherhood of Men, a channel dedicated at helping you men get a better outcome in your lives. Today, I want to talk about the Disney princess bullcrap story that has been fed to women for decades. So let's get into the video. So yeah, the Disney princess bullcrap story. It's been going on for decades and decades, churning these films out, Disney have, who have been corrupting the ideas in women's head of what to expect out of a relationship. And if you watch them with an open mind, with a red-pilled mind, with a MGTOW mind, you will see them for the absolute nonsense they are. But women can't seem to see it. So, when Disney made their first full-length animated cartoon film, it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And if you watch that film with an open mind, with a man's rational mind, you will see just how messed up a story that is. For a start, the princess in it, Snow White, she has to run away from her stepmother because her stepmother sees her for what she is. Competition for male attention. She looks into a mirror and she keeps asking who's the prettiest of them all, until one day the mirror says, you were the prettiest and now it's your stepdaughter, because she's younger, fitter, more fertile, more cooperative, a virgin. She's more attractive to men. Not you now, who is older, more used up, had more bodies behind you, and basically you're just going in one direction. You see, men, we age like fine wine. We age like a good whiskey or a cigar. Women age like milk. They age like bread. But women don't want to accept this reality. So when they're young, fit and supple, and when they're have not got bodies laid behind them, when they come more pure, all the things a man's looking for in somebody he's thinking to have a long-term relationship with, she'll waste that time by going out and basically ruin herself for a long-term relationship. So the wicked stepmother, she's called a wicked stepmother in it because she sees Snow White as her competition in her own kingdom, or queendom, for the attention of the suitors that are still out there. So she wants rid of her. So what does Snow White do? Well, what she does in most of these Disney films, she runs away from her problems. She runs away into the woods and shacks up with 7 men. Alright, they're called dwarves in the film. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, but they're still men. And then she goes into that household and she starts looking after these men, and she uses her womanly charms to wrap them around her fingers. Women have been doing this to men for centuries because they know physically they can't compete with a man, so they have to use what God gave them to manipulate men. But in this story, all her problems have to be solved by a man. She doesn't take accountability for herself. She is putting that burden on a man to solve her problems for her. In the form of, 1, the 7 Dwarfs, giving her shelter, feeding her, looking after her, and all she does in return is tidy the place up for them. I think probably she's doing a little bit more for them than that. But hey, this is a Disney film. We can't really dig to the realities too much. So the wicked stepmother, she still knows her competition's out there and she wants rid of her. So she does what most of these fairy tales does. She becomes an old crone and she gives her a poison apple. She bites into the apple and she falls into a sleep. And now here comes Prince Charming. He's heard of this beauty. He wants to meet this beauty. He's not interested in the older, more haggard fairy queen, the wicked stepmother who's trying to get rid of her. No, he wants to go to the younger woman. He wants to chase her down. and he finds her unconscious, and with just a simple kiss, he breaks her curse. He's saved her. Well, for a start, the original story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was written quite a long time ago from stories that were a lot older than that, and it's a damn sight darker and a damn sight more visceral than the Disney version. But the Disney version is what's on the screen, and that's the thing that young girls see all the time. She sees that, hey, if I've got a problem, I can run away from it, and a man will save me, or men will save me. She never once thinks, if I stood up to the Queen, if I showed that I wasn't her competition, because she's not in competition with me, because she's so much older than me. I'm looking for men my age. She should be looking for men her age. Instead of thinking of me as competitions, we could be allies. None of that went through her mind. Run away, two men to house me, to look after me, feed me, protect me, until the man of my dreams comes along and saves me completely. In all of these Disney films, they follow a similar sort of narrative like this. So it's always down to the man to fight a dragon, to climb a tower, to go to the ends of the earth, to sweep the desert of its sand, in order to have just an idea, just a sniff of her. He has to do all of these wondrous things to earn a place at her side. She has to do nothing other than be there and look pretty. And women eat this up. Yes, my Prince Charming will come one day. At no time do they ever think to themselves, well, what is it that attracted Prince Charming? Well, in the Snow White story, it was just the rumour that there was this beautiful, pure, attractive, feminine woman who was single. So he went looking for her. Now, in the original story, she's apparently got this poisoned apple stuck in her throat and cut off her blood supply. So she wasn't poisoned, it was actually the lump of apple was stuck in her throat, and in the story, just him kissing her, she coughs up that piece of apple and she's saved by the man. In the original story, she's got the apple stuck in her throat, which means she would be dead because she's suffocated. But of course it's a fairy tale, so it's really a moralistic tale. But in the original story, he dislodges her apple a lot more violently. Let's just put it that way. Let's put it this way. He forces himself upon her without her consent, and the act of what he's doing dislodges the apple, and she's saved. Now, if that true story, not true story, but if that fairy story was told in the... Do you think the woman would wake up, look at this guy who is basically forcing himself upon her, would automatically go, oh, my Prince Charming, I'm in love? But that's what the original story said. That's how she was brought back to life in the original. It was the Heimlich remover using the whole body, let's put it that way. But they couldn't do that in the Disney, so we actually now have a word for it. When the bad stuff or the consequences or the accountability that women should have to deal with are taken out of the narrative, we call it Disneyfying a story. In other words, making it available for everybody to watch. But when you take the accountability, the responsibility of the women in these stories away from the story, all you're teaching women is that they will get their heart's desire. The Prince Charming will come and sweep them off their feet and make their lives so much better, and they don't have to take any responsibility or accountability for their actions and for their choices. And this is the story that is being fed to women, millions of women around the world in all different languages by Disney, and young girls from even before they can understand the story lap it up and they believe it, that there is a Prince Charming out there for me. Doesn't matter what I do, doesn't matter how I behave, doesn't matter what I look like, there is a Prince Charming out there for me. You hear it all the time, oh, there's always someone out there for everyone. No, there's not. Statistics show you that by 2030, 45% of women are going to be on their own. And that means on their own for life, for the end. Never going to be in a long-term partnership, never going to be married, probably not going to have children. 45%. Basically, you are going to be cat food when you pass away, because all of the cats that you're looking after as your fur babies are going to eat you. That's the life that women are looking at, and they still believe this Disney fantasy that there's a Prince Charming out there for me. He's going to save me. He's going to make my life fantastic. Let's have a look at another one of the Disney classics, Cinderella. At this film, Cinderella, we find this young, attractive girl, and she's living with her stepmother. It's always a stepmother. And two ugly sisters. And she's being made to do all of the housework and all the chasing around. Okay, let's look at that little bit for a start, okay? Cinderella. Obviously, at some point, her father married this woman who already had two daughters. So for a start, her father is a simp. He's taken on some other woman with her children. He's a simp. He's a nice guy. So that's where she comes from. But he dies. He leaves all of his wealth to his wife, as the law states. Even if he didn't have a will, it goes to his wife. He's married to her legally. Now, did she throw Cinderella out on the street like she could have done if she wanted? No, she gave her a roof, she fed her, she kept her in the household. All she asks of Cinderella is that she works for her keep. But we're led to believe that she's evil for doing this. She treats her own daughters better than Cinderella. Cinderella's her stepdaughter. How many times have I said this is one of the reasons men do not want to get and have a relationship with single mothers? Because her priority is her kids. Her second priority are the stepkids that he brought into the family. She looks down on her, but she never threw her out. She isn't truly evil. She didn't throw her out on the streets after her father died. She kept her in the household. She just made her work for her keep. But we're supposed to believe by the story that this was her being horrible, her being the evil stepmother. The fact that she dotes upon her own natural-born children and hasn't got the same feelings for a stepchild. So onwards we go. Now, like most women in the world, they always want what other women have got. So she hears about a ball that's going to happen that her stepsisters are going to. She hears it's going to be a fantastic event. She hears that there's going to be a handsome single prince there who's looking for a wife. Of course she wants to go as well, but she can't afford it. She can't do it. She's not getting paid. Her stepmother's not going to buy her a ticket. She's not her child. But she's taken her own children because she wants them to get a look in with this handsome prince that's looking for a wife. So what does Cinderella do? Well, in the story, because it's a fairy story, she turns to nefarious means. She turns to magic. A fairy godmother comes up and gives her a chance of going to the ball. And she turns mice into horses and gives a coachman, turns a pumpkin into a nice coat and gives her a beautiful dress. So Cinderella goes to the ball to catfish a prince, because that's not what she looks like in real life. She doesn't dress that well, she isn't that beautiful, she hasn't got that makeup. All of this is done by magic, which today is the same thing. Men are catfished in real life, not just online by photos of a woman who looks attractive and then you meet her in the real life and it was like a 10 years old photo and she's completely changed now. She's, put on 200 pounds, she's wrinkled face and she's caked in makeup. No. In real life, men are catfished all the time. Women wear makeup. You're not that pretty. Without the makeup, you're not that beautiful. You wear makeup to cover up all your blemishes. They wear these long eyelashes. Your eyelashes are not that full and curvy and accentuate your eyes. You've used false magic to make yourself something you're not. You wear high heels. You're not that tall. And they've changed the shape of your legs and that, which don't look like that without the shoes on. You've used modern magic to present something in the real world that is not you. You wear a push-up bra. Your boobs are not that shape, and they're not that high, and they're not that perky. But you wear Spanx pants that hold your gut in. All of this is modern witchcraft to catfish a man. So that's what Cinderella does. She goes to the ball presenting something she isn't. In a fantastic gown, in a horse-drawn carriage, she's gone to present an image of herself that is a lie, to catch the attention of the prince. And she does. And she leaves a slipper behind, and he's so enthralled and so taken by what she presented to him, which is a lie, that he has to search the kingdom to find the foot that fits this slipper. Now, in the original story, it's not a glass slipper. It's the best translation, because it was a mistranslation in it, is a moleskin slipper. But anyway, I digress. So he goes looking for everywhere. Now, a lot of women have said about Cinderella in the story, oh, that Prince Charming's a bit dumb, innit? I mean, he didn't even recognise Cinderella when he saw her. It was only when he put the slipper on he realised she was the woman from the ball. Well, no, of course he didn't recognise her, because she catfished him. He saw her what she really looked like and didn't recognise she looked nothing like the woman that he was dancing all night with. She catfished him. It wasn't until he put the slipper on that he realised, oh, this is her, and then recognised her. But she was then in her real role of what she really looked like without the makeup and the fancy dress and the horse-drawn carriage and everything. He naturally assumed she came from money. She didn't. It was a pumpkin. It was mice. It was nothing she presented was her true life. But he still fell in love with her, and they got married. That's always the ending of, of these Disney films. The prince who's gone through some trouble to find this woman, he had to go round all the kingdom testing these women with this shoe to find out the woman he danced with. Because he didn't recognise her by just putting up a picture and say, find this woman for me. Because she didn't look like that. She'd been catfished. She catfished him. But when he did find her, all of a sudden he's supposed to accept this other version of her and still be in love. No questions asked. That's what Disney's telling you. No questions asked. He still fell in love with her and still married her. And that's the ending pretty much of most Disney films. That the prince goes through hell and high water to find a woman who's done sod all or has been a liar, and then falls in love with her and marries her. At no point in any of these Disney films do they ever show you after the marriage. It's always up to falling in love and marriage. And that's what modern women's goals are. I want to find my Prince Charming who's going to slay dragons for me, who's going to go to the ends of the earth to please me while I do sod all. He's then going to fall in love with me, make my life complete, and marry me. At no point in that story arc, at no point in that narrative in these young girls' minds who then become young women and start their lives, do they actually take into consideration there is any work involved on their side. Because the marriage or the wedding is the beginning of the journey. After that is a lot of hard work to make it work. And that's when reality hits and they realise, I'm not fit for marriage because I've never been trained to be a wife. I don't know how to look after a man. I don't know how to support a man. I don't know even, in a lot of cases, how to be faithful to a man. And so their life isn't the fairy tale princess story. Reality smacks like a wet fish in the face. And then they go, I'm not happy. I want a divorce. You see, they got their princess day in the white gown, walking where everybody's looking at them, centre of attention. That's the end of a Disney movie. It never goes on because it'd have to deal with some pretty harsh realities, and they don't want that. They want to tell you it's all about the falling in love and getting married, not about the hard work to make the marriage work. This is why 70% of marriages end in 70% of divorces are instigated by women, and the main reason they give for the end of the marriage is, I was unhappy in the marriage. It's because they were never ever shown how to be a wife. It was just how to catch the prince, that has to do everything, by the way, while she does sod all. How to get him to the altar for the day where she's the centre of attention. End of story. But that's only the start of the story. And in all of these stories, they're not even telling the real fairy tale. The Brothers Grimm wrote down that were very visceral, were very uncomfortable reading, the originals were, but they were written in such a way as to give a moral story to that fairy tale for both men and women. So the original Cinderella story, where it was a case of it wasn't a glass slipper, it was a moleskin slipper, fit her foot. They never talk about, in the original one, how the ugly sisters cut their toes off and started shaving flesh off of their feet to try and get it to fit into that moleskin slipper, because that's too visceral. But it tells you something about the lengths a woman will go to achieve her goals with the man that she finds desirable, the things she will do to try for that man. And we say it today in modern society. The amount of things a woman will do for that Chad that she wouldn't do for you because she doesn't see you like that Chad. She's probably done the most horrendous things in the bedroom for and with that Chad because she lets him get away with it. She lets him say, because she thinks he's my Prince Charming. I need to keep him. I need to keep him attractive. And then she finds somebody who really is worthy of her attention, and it's drawn back. Oh no, I can't let him see what I really like, because he'll think I'm a complete and utter garden implement, a 304. He'll like, oh no, no, so I'll tell him I don't do that. See, all of the Disney princess bullcrap that has been fed to them from childhood has told them one thing, one story, one outcome. A man will go through heaven and hell just for her attention. She has to do nothing. She can even lie, but he will still fall in love with her, and then she gets the wedding. But she's not a wife. She doesn't know how to be a wife. She doesn't know how a long-term relationship should be dealt with. So, all of these stories, all of these Disney princess films, take out the consequences, take out the responsibility, take out the accountability that a woman really has to face, and just glosses over all of that and makes you believe, those women out there, that all they have to do is be a little bit pretty and it'll all fall at their feet. But the women who are watching it are not the 1% beautiful, slim, attractive women. They're average women. And they swallow this crap like it's the best ambrosia they've ever tasted. And they believe it. They gobble it down going, that's what's going to happen to me. Let me give you another one. The Frog and the Princess. At no point in that film where a woman, for some unknown reason, so desperate for attention, actually starts kissing aquatic life forms, did the prince pop back from a curse that was put on him by another woman Did that prince go, "What the hell are you doing kissing frogs? What, you want me to marry you now, fall in love with your warty lips? No! Why on earth would I tie myself down with a woman who goes to ponds and starts licking toads? I don't think so." I know he's supposed to be so grateful that she broke the curse, that he marries her. Not once asking, "What the hell are you doing kissing frogs?" Even nowadays, women say, "You have to kiss a lot of frogs before you get your prince." What are you doing kissing frogs? You're using it as a metaphor about all of the men that you've got in your body count behind you before you decide to settle down and pick somebody who wasn't your first choice. Do you think me men are stupid? Do you think we don't know what you've been doing? And now we're supposed to be grateful that you broke the curse of us being on our own? We like being on our own. We'll invent things to be on our own, away from you. We will invent things. Oh yeah, I need to go and deep clean the garage. What? Yeah, oh yeah, it's been on my mind. It's been well out to do. Yeah, I'm probably going to be at it all day. You know, don't disturb me. If I want to get a drink, I'll get it. Basically, I'm inventing something that's hard work just to get away for a bit of peace and quiet. So, do you agree with my analogy of the Disney princess story? Have you got an example yourself that you'd like to share? If so, leave it down in the comments below. Also, I am going to start putting an email address for the Brotherhood of Men if you want to contact your brother Andy, tell me your story, maybe looking for a different perspective on something that's going on with you. I can't promise I'm going to answer all of the emails because, well, time's it's limited. That's all I can say. But just like the comments, I will read them all. And if I see something that jumps out and I think the brothers out there would get some insight from your life, because that's how we men learn. We learn from each other. Then, if with your permission, I will share your story and give my opinion on it. Maybe some insight that you hadn't thought of. So yeah, I'm going to be leaving that email link in the description below, just as I said I would once the channel got over 1,000 subscribers, which it has now, and it's galloping past that figure. And I'm really grateful to you, my brothers, for that, because it's growing with your help. And on that note, if you've watched a few of these videos and haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you don't miss out. Also, give the video a like. It likes fight, so do I. And leave a comment down below. Tell me, do you agree with my analysis of the Disney princess bullcrap story? Anyway, I'm going for a cup of tea because, quite frankly, I think I've earned one. You, my brothers out there, you take care of yourself, because if you don't, who will? And I'll talk to you soon. You take care now. Bye.